Good evening, and welcome to the 16th Annual Virtual Open House. We have all of the school districts and institutes participating in the national initiative connected to our conference this evening. I'm here with the national seminar leaders in the initiative offices overlooking the New Haven Green and the Yale campus. Let's begin with Paul Turner, whose seminar is titled Caretakers versus Exploiters, Impacting Biodiversity in the Age of Humans. Paul?
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see some very familiar faces as well as some new ones. So I am very pleased to offer this seminar, and I can very briefly describe a bit about what is it all about. So humans, we are but one species on this planet, and yet we dominate it in many ways. We alter it to our whims, and you can see that for all these locations that we are sitting in, ranging from what appears to be a Starbucks to very many classrooms around the country and large buildings like the one that I'm in right now. So we do a lot for our own good, and the seminar is examining, what is the far-reaching impact of all this? And many people know this because you hear it in the news. We have a biodiversity problem on this planet. Earth is biodiverse. It has always had very many species, and they do change through time through natural processes of extinction. But the issue is that humans are hastening this process along so much that in the current era, we perhaps are deservedly calling this the Anthropocene, or the age of humans, because of the amazing impact that we have in altering the planet. And unfortunately, a lot of this is leading to species loss. So this is a big topic, and it ranges purposely from what is our responsibility on this planet? Do we have a caretaker's responsibility so that we are preserving this biodiversity for future generations? It has plenty of aesthetic value, people have argued, but it also has perhaps a lot of applied significance. We've relied historically through traditional medicines, etc., using, for example, the plant world to find ways to heal problems that we have, or at least to treat them. And if we go about on the path that we're currently on with species loss, then that becomes an impossibility in the future for these species that go extinct. So on the other hand, we do care a lot about us as humans and our own welfare, and that's very understandable. So we tend to exploit resources. We may use them increasingly prudently, but it just goes hand in hand with the resource use that humans have adapted to the way that we live socially in most of our social organizations, is that we gobble up resources. And we do this for a reason. We're trying to feed a hungry world. We're trying to find new energies that are more efficient, and that's extremely important. So I think really there is no right answer. And yet the seminar, I believe, will be a lot of fun because we get to grapple with this very big topic. How we'll address it is at the ecosystem level. We can look at climate change. We can look at global warming and very large, impactful events like those. We could look at a very local level, and here in the United States, the way that we have created our societies and the way that we live, it's actually benefiting some species. I think seagulls are doing pretty well, house mice, not so bad. And I read about these accounts. I'll just bring a couple of them by example, how this is really very obvious what's happening now, caretakers versus exploiters. 3 quick examples. One would be, you might have seen in the news that the UN decided, they had this decision that if climate refugees are at your borders of your country, you must take them in. So this is already altering human demography, and we'll talk about that. And now the UN has made this decision that we better plan for the future, because there's going to be more and more people moving about the planet's surface because they can't actually live locally. Their local environment has maybe turned into a desert due to global warming or shifting climate patterns. So I heard about that the other day. Another one, that's a very big kind of impactful thing for human societies on the planet. A very local one, as I heard today about a man in New Hampshire whose 2-year-old child was being attacked by a coyote. And well, why is this? Human interaction with coyotes and bears and other carnivores is increasingly frequent because these organisms are living off of the trash and things that we produce and place in the environment. So their species are doing okay, and yet we are encountering them more often. So the unfortunate thing is this coyote is attacking a 2-year-old, and the man decides to step in, and he ends up killing a coyote with his bare hands. And of course, this makes big news. So I hope we don't see more of that in the future, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then the last one is everybody knows what's happening in Australia and how impactful that is, where clearly it is the early part of the dry season, and there are these wildfires, and everybody knows about the impact on humans there, but you're also hearing a lot about species loss. So individuals of some species living in those environments, non-human species, are dying by the millions. And okay, that is in one region, but that is a continent, and it is experiencing something that I think will easily carry over to other continents. We can talk about this, but it does touch a little bit on a very important thing that I'm trying to get at in this seminar, is that biodiversity does matter from an aesthetic reason, but it also matters in terms of how we might learn more about organisms that are naturally on this planet and use products that they create or just knowledge of their biology to help human applications. So the unfortunate thing is a place like Australia, if we have this very, very rapid species loss, then we could lose the possibility of studying some species intensively to determine whether or not they have any useful applications for future generations of humans. So all in all, how are we going to address this? We're going to do a lot of reading from individual, what I call lay articles, magazine articles, but there is a book that we will have assigned, and we'll cover the entire book, I expect. It's called The Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Colbert, and it's a Pulitzer Prize-winning book from, I think, 2015. So it's fairly up to date in grappling with the topics that I want to address in the seminar. And we'll use that as a rough guide, but plenty of examples can come from other magazines and articles that I bring in. And I always encourage the teachers who participate in my seminars to bring to my attention some resources that we could also bring into the seminar discussions. So that's probably enough. I should stop there and let my colleagues here have their say, but I look forward to hearing your questions later on and dealing with those.